Have you ever walked past a random statue in one of Oblivion's many cities and wondered, what's the story behind this strange statue? And which notable acts have the people depicted committed to justify a statue erected in their honour by the local populace? And perhaps more importantly, why don't any of them feature a handy plaque for the player to brush up on presumably some important lore? Well, if you've asked yourself that multitude of questions, you're in luck. As in today's video, we shall be detailing the little-known history and secrets behind every known statue in Cyrodiil cities, pieced together through official guides, in-game texts, and even loading screens. Plus, we shall be exploring the dark secrets and real-world inspirations along the way. Though, just a quick forewarning before we get started, I'll not be covering the lore around the Daedra statues peppered around the wilderness, or the Aedra, as players are pretty familiar with the Daedra/Aedra by now, and all 9 divines line the Arboretum of the Imperial City. Yes, I said 9. You're welcome, Talos.
The Thalmor know how to deal with Talos worshippers. Watch it!
We begin our journey on the Gold Coast in the port city of Anvil, where one of the most curious statues in all of Cyrodiil waits silently by the sea. The mermaid, known in ancient legend as the Selkie of West Skerry. While many later sources blur the details of its origin, the official guide to Oblivion points us to the Selkie myth, stating, a sailor falls in love with a seal maid and hides her skin, binding her to the land. But his wife, knowing the truth, slices the skin in half and leaves it for the Selkie to find. When the creature dons it again, she becomes neither seal nor maid, but both. Ashamed, she flees, but some say she still guides lost sailors through the Gold Coast fog. This tale isn't just fantastical, it directly mirrors real-world folklore from the Orkney Isles and Shetland, showing us how the Elder Scrolls lore often reshapes sometimes disturbing myths into something wholly of its own. We then sail inland along the Niben, finding ourselves in the murky, rumour-thick city of Breville, where another woman stands immortalised in stone. The lucky old lady. While players of Oblivion know the dark secret behind her true identity, most citizens of Breville see her as a benevolent figure, one who grants blessings to those bold enough to reach up and kiss her on the cheek. From the book Daughter of Niben, we learn a more romanticised backstory that we the player later learn is quite apocryphal in nature. In the story we can glean, it was said she was born the illegitimate daughter of a prostitute in Breville. The girl was teased by the other children, who forever asked her who her father was. One day, a priest of Stendarr came to Breville. He saw the weeping little girl, and when asked, she told him the cause of her misery. She didn't know who her father was. You are clearly a child of Stendarr. The priest's thoughtful words changed the girl forever. Whenever she was asked who her father was, she would cheerfully reply, I am a child of luck. What's fascinating is the story's dissonance and warping of the truth wrapped in shadow. It's a gentle facade masking her darker legacy and even darker true father, which almost begs the question, how many blessings in Tamriel are merely myths built atop hidden horrors? Now, it should be also quickly noted for the city of Breville, tucked against a far wall is the Aedra Zenithar, and he is, ironically, the deity of hard work as represented by the anvil in his hand, which is laughable in a town not only known for its layabouts and skooma suckers, plus kind of a prick of a count, but also Zenithar isn't even the chief Aedra here, the title instead belonging to the town's patron saint of Mother Mara. Ascending next the snow-bound heights of Bruma, a Nordic stronghold nestled just south of Skyrim. Here we find the Shouter, a Nord in Imperial armour, frozen mid-roar. Some believe it represents Tiber Septim using the Thu'um, though it's never officially confirmed. Especially as just outside the chapel nearby, Talos himself stands, sword drawn. one of the few divines honoured with an exterior statue. However, the Shouter's power is unmistakable. Positioned in Cyrodiil's most Skyrim-like city, the statue quietly reinforces the fusion of two empires, Nordic strength and Imperial ambition, a warning to anyone who would try and diminish either. Crossing to the eastern valleys, the serene Dunmer architecture-inspired city of Cheydinhal offers something very different. Here we meet Vanis Gallerion, founder of the Mages Guild. Originally depicted as an aged man with a torch, later lore from ESO, in a rare reimagining, change him to his true Ultima form, which will be important later about statues being changed. However, for now, it's a reminder of how even statues are subject to time's revisions. Nearby stands a monument to Arkay. His eternal circle is more than symbolic, as Cheydinhal was home to the Knights of the Circle, rooted in the very cycle Arkay represents. But if magic governs life, and Arkay governs death, where do those who manipulate both truly stand? Heading west, we then find ourselves in the city of Coral. Immediately as we enter the main gate, we encounter the statue of Saint Osla, depicting a female healer tending to a wounded soldier. Also known as the Saint of Sankhator, she was later canonized as an imperial saint. In the Third Era, a statue titled The Touch of Healer's Hand was erected in Coral near the main gate, commemorating the fallen from that battle. Which is interesting because I erroneously forever thought it was the Countess of Coral tending to a wounded husband who died in a fight with the Nords. Now known locally as the Fountain, the statue was once surrounded by a pool, but by the events of the Oblivion crisis, it had inexplicably dried up, and the area became known as Fountain Gate. This statue also seems to hold real-world ties, as she cradles a fallen soldier, a striking parallel to Michelangelo's Pieta, blending imperial piety with Renaissance artistry. Further southwest, we arrive at the stately, aristocratic city of Skinrad, where a figure atop a horse claims the stone, with an arm outstretched and birds and flowers about, with almost a Snow White vibe, being beloved by woodland creatures. It's hard to believe this man depicts fratricide. Known as Rislav the Righteous, born in 1E448, son of Queen Lenata, Rislav led a typical Colovian prince's life, marrying Beline, daughter of King Justinus of Kavach, to secure peace. In 1E478, a plague killed Skingrad's royal family, leaving Rislav and his brother Dorald as survivors. Dorald ceded the kingdom to the Elysian Empire, angering Rislav. He led a cavalry from Kavach to Skinrad, where he confronted and beheaded his brother Dorald, and was then crowned King of Skinrad. His deeds have then echoed through the ages, earning him the title of Saintly King, perhaps showing history is written by the victors. Speaking of Kavach, a city marked by flame and memory, before the Oblivion crisis, it had already endured a tragedy. 4 years shy of the events of Oblivion, during the Cameron usurper's assault in 3E429, a man named Antis Pinder led the defence. He ultimately failed, but his courage endured and was later set in stone. His statue is rare in that it doesn't celebrate a victory, it honours instead a noble defeat, which begs the question, in a world where victory writes history, what does it mean when a statue immortalises failure instead? Heading south, the river city of Leeuwin honours its patron in Topol the Pilot, first Oldma to explore Tamriel's coasts, and the supposed discoverer of the Niben itself. His tale is recounted in brief by Imperial Guard Decentius Opsius, who delights in sharing local lore.
Is there a problem? Well, stranger, anyone ever tell you the story of Torval the Pilot, the high elf who discovered the Niben, the patron saint of Leeuwin? Have you seen the statue? It's in the southwest corner of the town. That's the high elf explorer Torval the Pilot. Back in the Merethic, he charted the sea lanes and explored the river Niben. Torval sailed all the way from Topol Bay up the Niben Valley. He purchased the 8 islands, the site of White Gold Tower and the Imperial City, from the Beast Folk natives for the secret of literacy. Pretty soon, the Beast Folk all knew how to read and write. which was handy since it made them better slaves for the aliens.
In the heart of Cyrodiil lies the Imperial City, where the most confusing and most politically charged statues reside. In the Market District, we find Pelagius, confusingly labelled Pelagius IV, son of Tiber Septim, was built in the Market District at some point in the Third Era. But which ruler the statue actually depicts is unclear, because Pelagius I is described as Tiber's eldest son in some sources, and his grandson in others. Further, Pelagius IV was born around 300 years after Tiber Septim. Speaking of the Septim dynasty, nearby is Oriel Septim III, the black sheep of the dynasty. Son of Potimer, the infamous Wolf Queen, he sparked the War of the Red Diamond and took the throne through cunning and bloodshed, not birthright. Within the nearby Arena District, two legendary figures from the dawn of Cyrodiil stand in defiance. First is Saint Alicia, the slave who became a saint. Her bald fist is raised towards the white gold tower, which she wrested from Ayleid control. Yet, in the remaster, she's oddly shown with a spear, perhaps a more dramatic flourish not grounded in history. Beside her is Morihaus, her consort, again pointing at the gold tower and the Ayleid oppressors. Known as a winged man-bull during the Knights of the Nine DLC, where it was first officially confirmed, it's interesting that he took the form still of a man as he did in the original, and it wasn't updated, say, like Valerian Gallus. Though it was said that Morihaus could shapeshift, perhaps people thinking of the bestiality aspect of a man-bull coupling with Saint Alicia wasn't something the developers wanted to remind the public of. But which way do you see it? Fraudulent or a poetic inconsistency? And finally, although I did say I would mostly dodge the Aedra in this video, it's interesting to see the many depictions of Aatosh outside of the endgame statue. For example, as the chief deity for man's worship of the Nine, we see the dragon god depicted as part father of time and dragon in the Arboretum. And inside the Talos Plaza district, another depiction of the great dragon. But as the Imperial City once was owned by the Ayleids, and the city was sacked, men clearly took up residence, and one of their first orders no doubt would be to knock down any remnants of Ayleid worship in lieu of their own statues. But what can we learn of Aatosh, or I should say the Ayleid analogous version? Well, beyond city walls deep in forgotten ruins, we find a rare and striking monument, Oriel, the elven god of time and starlight, again that contrasts Aatosh directly. Now, the statue isn't static, it actually tells a story. The Ayleid's entrapment in Mundus, as depicted not by a snake this time, but instead roots that are holding them to the ground, meaning their underpinning and presence in the mortal plane. And ascension is represented by an eagle, symbolising the desired return to Aetherius. It echoes the Altman's deepest desire to transcend mortality and return to divinity, to undo what Lorcan tricked them into becoming. But if escaping mortality is the highest goal, why does Oriel still cast a shadow in the world of men? I just want to say a huge shout out to Occupy Tamriel for creating this list, linked in the description. And if you're interested in videos inspired by Imgur posts and the community, check out the 31 recurring characters in the Elder Scrolls series who make a return. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, Traveller.